Okay. Hey everybody, it has been a hot minute. And by a hot minute, I mean freaking years. I'm sitting here in front of a ring light and a big ass Canon camera, scared out of my mind because of multiple things. The biggest thing is that I've been gone for so long and I don't know how this is going to work. This is Buzz. He's going to be my little assistant and my little fidget friend. You can't see, but this whole room is Toy Story themed because that's what Alex loves. Alright guys, let's get down to it. Hey, if you're new here, my name is Jessica. I've got 2 children. I've birthed them right here. You can subscribe, you can go check out the videos. I've birthed them for you. If you don't know what birth is like, now you do. They're my babies. I am married to Jacob. You will probably see him in these videos as well. Probably not these ones because I'm filming this in my lonesome in Alex's room, but probably in the future. I am here to start a series on the journey that we have been on that is Alex. Alex is 4 years old. He just turned 4. And when I tell you he has a rap sheet of diagnosis, you're going to think I have like Munchausen syndrome, but I don't. They are all things that you will learn from this video and from the series that I am embarrassed to say that I was one of the last ones to know that he had. So, Alex is 4. He's my youngest. He is diagnosed with autism. He is diagnosed with hypotonia, which is now in question for cerebral palsy, and he is diagnosed with Tourette's. Oh my gosh, he's 4 years old. You can only imagine the journey that we've been on since that birth video to today. I'm going to try to keep it short and sweet. Don't think I'm going to get emotional because I've had 4 years to talk about this and to think about it, but you never know with me. I'm a big crybaby. And I'm a space case, so it might not all be perfect and in line. It's important to know with these diagnoses to take it back from the beginning. It's going to really help paint a picture. And then I'm hoping to do a series where then I go over each diagnosis in a separate video in case maybe you have a friend or family or child that also has those diagnoses. It doesn't mean that of course you have all 3, but you could have a neighbor, a friend, something that you are curious about. So, diagnosis aside, let's take it back to the very, very beginning. And when I say very beginning, I mean in my tummy. I don't know if I did pregnancy updates with Alex because my kids are only 18 months apart. So shit got cray when I got pregnant again because I still had a little baby and that was tough. That actually could be its own YouTube video. If you hear a cat meowing, that's Bella. She wants in, but it's too bad. If you hear kids crying, or not even crying, hopefully they're not crying. If you hear kids laughing, that would be better. In the background, those are Kaylee and Alex in the background because I am a stay-at-home mom, so I'm still responsible to keep an ear out for those monkeys. Okay, let's take it back to pregnancy. So, when I was pregnant with Alex, around the 20-something weeks, we realized that I had polyhydramnios, which means extra amniotic fluid. There's a lot of reasons for extra amniotic fluid. It could be a marker for Down syndrome. It could be a marker for hypotonia. It could be a marker for cerebral palsy. It could be nothing. And so that's terrifying when you're pregnant. They basically were like, we don't know. We don't know why you have this extra amniotic fluid. Well, as the pregnancy progressed, they did not know at the time hypotonia or autism, although now everything comes together. They were like, we don't know why you have this. But as my pregnancy progressed and as baby got bigger and my body kept producing more amniotic fluid, assuming the ebb and flow of swallow pee, he wasn't doing that properly. And so more amniotic fluid was building up and he just wasn't swallowing it because now we know it's low muscle tone in his throat. So I had to go in for stress tests. I think they call it stress tests, or to measure my fluid like almost weekly with ultrasounds. And his heart rate wasn't where it was supposed to be because for poly babies that are swimming in polyhydramnios or whatever, just too much amniotic fluid, it's the equivalent of swimming, I heard, in like the middle of the ocean versus in a jacuzzi. It's a lot of pressure on your heart. It's a lot more water for them. So his heart rate wasn't where they wanted to, so that took a lot of doctor's appointments. His heart is fine now, luckily. That's not a part of what we're talking about. But, so, pregnancy, too much fluid, didn't know why, told it could be a range from Down syndrome to absolutely nothing, had no idea. I birthed the baby, I birthed Alex, the video is somewhere around here, I think. If not, I'll upload it, but I don't know why it wouldn't be. And it's a little more graphic because Alex came out really quick. My birth was totally normal. I came in at 6 centimeters and I pushed a few times and he came out because remember, I had just had a baby like a year and a half ago. So my body was like, oh, I remember all this. So I sneezed him out. And then he was having a hard time breastfeeding or even taking formula. He was choking immediately, and I don't remember what else, but there was a reason why he had to be on like a central line, and he was in the NICU for 12 days. So I had just had my baby, and they basically, I don't remember much because everything is such a blur, they just whisked him off to the NICU, and they put him, I believe, on a feeding tube and a central line. They put him on heart monitors because of how his heart was. Thank God his heart is fine. Anyway, so that kind of started our journey with realizing that he had really low tone in his throat. He ended up now, he's got ankle braces, he's got low tone everywhere, but at this point, we didn't know that because babies are floppy. Anyways. Sorry, it's Buzz, like he's my little buddy through this. I should put him down, but I don't want to. Okay. Hands free, I'm now an adult. Now what? Now what do I hold on to? This is vulnerable. So NICU, feeding tube, go forward to having a little baby, breastfeeding. He was constantly choking on my breast milk. They wanted to put thickener in, wanted me to pump and put thickener. They wanted to do thick formula. I literally, if you don't have a baby already and you don't know breastfeeding, you should be able to breastfeed however, whenever. There's football hold, you should be able to just whip it out in the middle of the night laying down. Like their swallow suck reflex kind of protects them. Well, Alex didn't have that. So he choked really, really easily. And I had a really hard time breastfeeding. One of my best friends is a lactation consultant, and I just remember just crying to her because I'm like, what do I do? It was really hard. Feeding was really hard. Lots of gagging, lots of choking, terrifying. It ended up getting us an occupational therapy referral, which he still does occupational therapy for food safety because of the low muscle tone here. Fast forward, he gets really bad pneumonia. Nobody else got pneumonia. We're like, what's going on? Did a swallow study. He was aspirating liquids. He was aspirating when he was eating and drinking, and through the swallow study we could see that his muscles here were not that strong. So we now have feeding therapy, we now have occupational therapy, we now have the diagnosis of hypotonia because he had a hard time walking, a hard time doing all the muscle things, and a really hard time with his throat and eating. Fast forward to when he was 18 months, so we're living our life, we know he has a hard time swallowing or whatever. When he was 18 months old, we were at a doctor's appointment for something totally different. I don't even remember what it was. It was totally different. We had, at this point, we had a gastrologist because of the swallowing and feeding. We had occupational therapy. We had, you can hear Alex in the background, sorry. All kinds of stuff. But we're not there for autism yet, right? So we're at 18-ish months, and I'm sitting there talking to the doctor, and Alex keeps rocking in his high chair. And I'm not thinking anything of it. Like, he has an iPad, he really wasn't into it. He really doesn't care about, I kind of forced Disney characters on him. He doesn't really care about characters and all those things. So he's just like rocking back and forth and hitting his head on the high chair. Or no, stroller, sorry. We're at the doctor's stroller. And this doctor, who is not an autism doctor at all, I don't even remember what world, but it wasn't neurologic. He goes, have you had him tested for autism? And at this point I'm like, Jesus, people. I'm like, no, like whatever, I'm here for something else, just whatever. But he put in the referral for an autism evaluation. Fast forward, we have the autism evaluation. He has a bunch of red flags, but apparently you don't get an autism diagnosis, at least here in California with our insurance provider, unless it's severe, until at least the age of 2. So they said, hey, you got red flags, we see your concern, but please come back when he's 2. So fast forward to 2, now they have all the notes of the red flag at 18 months, they confirm the autism diagnosis, and here goes a set of ABA, which are like autism teachers, since he actually got approved with the state for ABA already at 18 months before the autism diagnosis. So this child has been in ABA therapy since he was 18 months. We used to get 18 hours a week, and now we still get 12. So he's got a lot of teachers in his life. He's got, we'll get into that. So the state, even at 18 months before the diagnosis, sent us autism teachers. They paid for it. It was awesome. We ended up, after the age of 3, when the state gives up on you, we just kept the same company and kept autism teachers going. So then, fast forward, so at 18 months, the state's already sending autism teachers. At 2 years old, our insurance agreed, look, stamp of approval, here's autism. Here are the services that come with autism, be on your merry way. That was at 2 years old. At 3 years old, the state's like, look, he's not severe enough to need our funding anymore and our coverage. Insurance needs to take over. So now we have an autism diagnosis. We have a hypotonia diagnosis. With autism and hypotonia comes speech therapy. And I've been very blessed to have the best speech therapists that I have hopefully made lifelong friends with outside of speech therapy. They have been such a rock for me. So many questions answered, so many late night texts, so many Marco Polo, the app of like me crying to them. Like, I mean, what a blessing, these special needs. They bring really special patient people into your lives. And that's actually been one of the best things about this whole journey is who you keep. I mean, my best friend in the entire world, her daughter has autism. And I don't know if we would be as close as we are today if we didn't share such a common denominator and struggle. The amount of endless nights we've cried to each other. And I want to open that. That's one of the main reasons why I'm doing this video and why I've taken 4 years off. I've been so nervous to open up about this. There's family who is going to be watching this that don't even know the details of what I'm probably going to share. So it's good for them to watch too, because I've been really quiet about it. I just post cute pictures of him and I don't really talk about it. And I feel like it's not my story to tell, and so I'm kind of nervous that he's going to be mad at me when he's like 18. And B, I don't know, I just am another Instagram, YouTube user that wants to just, I hate the word normal, but just seem like, oh, we've got everything fine. But in the background, you know, Alex has a lot of diagnosis. We do a lot of stuff with Alex. Anyways, let's fast forward. So now, at 3 years old, he is able to start the special ed program with the public school. So with that also comes special ed teacher for autism and hypotonia, well, mainly autism. It comes OT, it comes speech, it comes PT, all those things. Now the school district takes over. We also still have, to this day, at 4 years old, once a week food safety with occupational therapy. And we have occupational therapy in general for hypotonia, especially now that he's learning how to write. We're having a lot of deficit in fine motor because of his hand strength. We have PT to work on hypotonia and falling and ankles. Okay, so we talked about 18 months, red flags. 2 years, confirmed autism, stamp of approval. Autism therapy since 18 months. Occupational therapy since probably 2 years old for food safety, and physical therapy for hypotonia. And then at 3 years old, he was able to start the school district special ed, which comes with a slew of help and amazing teachers also. And then if we fast forward an entire year, so now we're living our life, we've completed speech therapy, we're still in PT, we're still in OT. We know hypotonia, we know autism. He starts developing very bad tics, and I will insert a video of his tics here.
Got it? Now scoop it. Use the scooper to make a tree. It might take a little long because it's upstairs. Ice cream, come and get it. Cherry.
I will also make it an entire video because it has turned our world upside down with how bad and how quick his tics have gotten.
What, buddy?
Do you ever see Jenny everywhere? 12.
12? I love you.
Mama?
Yeah.
I like your bandage.
Oh, on my knee, thank you.
Can I hold the temperature?
You mean, no, you don't, we're not going to take the thermometer out. So his tics started out as a tic disorder diagnosis with neurology. I saw him he's always had little facial tics, but I chalked that up to, stimming with autism. I was like, oh, it's just stimming, like I'm not, whatever. And then his tics started to progress worse and worse. So we saw neurology about a year ago, and they gave him a tics diagnosis. Well, his tics have progressively gotten worse, as you've seen in the clips previously. And I took him back a couple weeks ago, and they've actually bumped him up to a Tourette's diagnosis. It's actually called complex tics. It includes multiple muscle areas of the body. And so now we have add the tics Tourette's diagnosis to autism and hypotonia. While I was at the neurology appointment a couple of weeks ago, he noticed that Alex always kind of has his mouth open. And I've noticed, and friends have noticed, that he kind of has his mouth open a lot. And the neurologist even said while we were there, he said, does he always have his mouth open like this? And I said, yeah, in fact, a lot of people have just like talked to me about that, and that's not, I hate the word normal, but that's not typical. And so he goes, well, he has his mouth open all the time. He's got a lot of hypotonia and low muscle tone in his throat. His ankles are starting to bow in because as he's getting bigger, his muscle weakness is starting to affect his ankles. So we've actually just recently saw orthopedics for ankle braces. And neurology was like, I think you have a very mild form of cerebral palsy. So then there goes another diagnosis in 2 days. We got bumped up from tics to Tourette's. And then while I was there, talking about hypotonia and how hypotonia doesn't get harder or worse. It's not progressive, but as the child gets bigger, you're going to see more deficits. So then now we're talking about cerebral palsy. And so in 4 years, this has been such a journey with Alex. I appreciate everybody who's waited for this video. I appreciate everybody who's still subscribed. I appreciate everybody who has sent me either messages or left comments on my video, like, where are you? I appreciate that because that means you're still interested, which I love, and I'm sending my love to you. And so to sum it all up, we started out with, which all makes sense, we started off with polyhydramnios, too much amniotic fluid, and then we had autism, and then we had hypotonia, and then we had tics, which then tics got bumped to Tourette's, and hypotonia got bumped to cerebral palsy. And that is the world that we're living now. Alex is kick-ass. He is in special ed, but he is so smart and so fun. I'm going to leave some fun pictures and clips of him. And I'm also going to be making, this was just a big general word vomit to you, and then I want to make individual videos of what each of these diagnoses mean, a little bit more of what the doctor said, but just wanted to get you up to date. Say hi, say we're still here. We've got 2 beautiful, healthy children, and you've been a part of it. Either you are a friend or you just are a subscriber, which is also a friend. So I really appreciate it, and keep in touch. Subscribe if you're not already, and I'll be making individual videos on what these diagnoses all individually mean. And I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Love you.